Todd Blanche, Trump defense lawyer. The Access Hollywood tape was released October 7th, 2016, a month before the election. The tape itself was from 2005, 11 years earlier. And as you heard from witnesses, this was an extremely personal event for President Trump. Nobody, and again, I'm just going to state the obvious, nobody wants their family to be subjected to that sort of thing. But the government wants you to believe that the release of that tape from 2005 was so catastrophic to the campaign that it provided a motive for President Trump to do something criminal. Again, this is Trump's defense counsel, quote, "But there is no evidence of that. President Trump did not react to the Access Hollywood tape in any way the government is suggesting. You heard the politicians reacted negatively to the Access Hollywood tape. They didn't testify. You heard that there was even talk about something consequential for President Trump, who was a Republican nominee. But none of that happened. None of that is true. You heard that President Trump and his campaign got ready for the debate, responded to the allegations, and continued campaigning. So there were a couple days of frustration and consternation, but that happens all the time in campaigns, and we know that. The Access Hollywood tape is being set up in this trial to be something that it is not. It was one of many stressful stories and issues that came up during the 2016 campaign. It was not a doomsday event. President Trump, as you saw, addressed it in a video that was addressed to the release to the American public. He addressed it in a debate a couple days later. He never thought it was going to cost him to lose the campaign. And indeed, it didn't. It was not a doomsday event. That was from Trump defense counsel Todd Blanche today in his summation to the jury, claiming that the Access Hollywood tape was no big deal. And obviously, you can argue about whether or not it makes sense for Trump's defense to try to make this claim that there was no new sense of urgency around Trump's various creepy sex scandals in October 2016, right before the election, right after that tape came out. The strategic importance of making this claim is not, at least to me, particularly obvious on its face. But this is a factual claim, right, from the Trump defense. The factual record about whether or not that tape was a big deal, that is an empirically observable thing. That is a thing we can check. Did it matter at the time? We were all alive and sentient when it happened. We can remember. We can check.
Trump tape bombshell. Donald Trump caught on a hot mic months after marrying Melania, making vulgar comments about groping women, saying when you're a star, they let you do it.
Notice the hurricane graphic at the very beginning of that. Going away. No, it's this thing. When the Access Hollywood tape came out just a month before the 2016 election, it did knock hurricane news out of the news cycle. It was what NBC News' Lester Holt described at the time as a bombshell. Not only did Trump's comments about grabbing straight for women's genitals make front page news across the country, the news really did, in real life, lead to an avalanche of Republicans calling for Trump to drop out of the race. This is the New York Times. Lewd Donald Trump tape is a breaking point for many in the GOP. This is the Washington Post. 36 Republicans have now called for Donald Trump to drop out. Here's the local view from swing state Michigan. State Republican leader Ronna Romney McDaniel says Trump's talk about women is disgusting. This was the headline in Politico. Republican women are done with Trump. That all happened not that long ago in our living memory. Today, in closing arguments, Trump's defense tried to argue that the Access Hollywood tape was just a normal day on the campaign trail with no real consequences, trying to tell the jury that even though the timing of the evidence makes it look like Trump's side suddenly got motivated to quash the Stormy Daniels story days after the tape, well, that can't really be right because Trump had no reason to worry about the impact of that tape. It had no impact. Why make an argument like that? That is so easily disprovable, even by people's own living memories, right? All these jurors, these jurors are not junior high school students. They were all old enough in 2016 to have lived through it and to remember it. Even if they did forget living through it, in her testimony in court this month, Hope Hicks, the Trump campaign press secretary when the tape came out, described the release of the Access Hollywood tape by saying this. She said, quote, "I had a good sense to believe this was going to be a massive story." Quote, "I think there was a consensus among all of us that the tape was damaging, and that this was a crisis. Hicks also went on to describe how it pushed hurricane news out of the news, making this claim to the jury, Nicole, that what you lived through and what you must remember about this moment didn't happen.
Yeah, and I think that's why the prosecution has reason to feel decently confident that they've made a strong case on the underlying piece, right? And if you're a student of Trump's social media posts, you can smell his panic. They're not worth platforming on a program like this. But I think that that Blanche's need to address Access Hollywood speaks to the strength of the part of the prosecution case that we don't talk about quite as much. You know, we get lost in the exhibits and the cross and the direct. But what they've established, obviously in a way that made Todd Blanche nervous enough to say something on its face ludicrous, because, again, the only time this jury has seen Trump talk was when he was saying the things that Lester was covering there, that this is going to poison me in the minds of women. And the thing that no one will ever know, the piece that's lost to history because they pay Stormy Daniels to stay quiet ahead of the 2016 election, is whether that would have tipped it over, right? Whether Access Hollywood plus Stormy would have done what Trump was afraid it would do. Yeah. The other piece, I quoted it already, is Steinglass says in his summation today, the sex happens in 2006. Stormy doesn't get a dime until 2 weeks before Election Day.
Right. They're not interested in paying to make this go away until Access Hollywood happens and the election's about to happen, and they know that that's the fatal moment.
Right. And I mean, the other piece about the timeline and what the jury saw before Michael Cohen ever was introduced to the jury as a walking, talking human being who kind of didn't blow, right? He was demeaned by almost every witness. I mean, there was a sideswipe from Pecker who said he couldn't do anything. He got a very short leash. There was Hope Hicks saying he wouldn't do anything without getting credit. Before he takes the stand, what you know is that he was instrumental. He helped Hope Hicks write the denial when the Access Hollywood tape comes out.
Right, because they needed to, because it was catastrophic for them. Yes. All right.